So I have created a program here. Actually, this was a existing program that I had, and I just deleted all the lines out of it. So this program is actually called the Copy EX program, which is the program I used to do a couple other videos, but I just deleted all the lines out of it. So there's no current lines in here other than, of course, the ending line, which is always in a program. So if I wanted to record this current point, so I can come over here and jog the robot and place the robot where I want it to be. And so in the software, or I can, of course, use my teach pendant to jog the robot and get it to where I want to be. And I can come over here and I can record a point. Now, when I did that, notice that it's a joint motion, that it's going to take 100 milliseconds to get to where it's going, and it's fine termination. However, if you press, to get that, I pressed shift and then pressed the point, and it just creates those points. All right, so let me just delete those again just to clear this up here. So I'm going to come over to delete. I'm going to select my lines, and I'm just going to delete all those. Now, the problem is maybe I didn't want a joint motion, or I didn't want that speed, but I want to save a lot of points. Well, if I come back over here, if I do not press the shift key, one more time, do not press the shift key, but simply press F1. Here now you can see that it's got 4 choices. All right, so these are kind of some predefined preferred choices. And if you don't like any of these, you can select the one you don't like, press F1, and change it. So you can now come in and you can edit these definitions. So if I wanted this to be a linear one, I would come over to the joint type, choose L for linear, make that a linear one, and then I could make that a... instead of 100 milliseconds, I could go to choice, and I can say I want this one to move inches per minute. And I can say move at, 7 inches per minute. And then you can say I want I want this to be a fine or continuous, and you can even add options in here if you like. I really like having an option here a lot, so I can add in an option at this point if you wanted. So now these are those 4 defaults that show up when you don't press the shift key. And then once you select one of these, it'll stay as your kind of preferred until you select a different one. So I'm just going to go ahead and say F5, done here. And now if I press shift point, you can see that this is now linear motion instruction with a point at a speed of 7 inches per minute. Fine. Now that's my default in there now, so I can actually I can drag this over here, and I'm going to do shift point again, and I get the same motion type, speed, and of course it gives it a new point within the program, but everything else remains the same. If I then jog it over here, but now, what happened right there, as I jogged the robot, I got to this point and I kept dragging, but the robot couldn't come out here with me. So notice that the TCP globe there, the green TCP globe has now turned red. That means that I dragged it out into a place where it couldn't reach. All right, but if I bring it back to a place that it can reach, and then press F1 without the shift, and I can choose one of these different choices. Now, I'm going to choose number 2, but I still don't like the speed. It's too fast. So I'm going to go F1 again. I'm going to edit that, and I'm going to make that at, say, 30% speed. Okay. And then I'm going to say done. And now when I do shift point, it's going to take that one that I was on and make that my default. And then I can come back over here and I can move, or I can move the robot somewhere else. And then I can do shift F1 again, and it's going to keep, again, those same settings, joint with 30% speed and continuous termination. All right. And so I just created these points in space. So now I could come over here and hold down the shift key, hold down the dead man, and press forward. And it doesn't want to run the program because I was running a different program. So I'm going to abort all, press reset, and try to run the program again. Now I run it, and notice, remember, I'm saying it's going to take a whole minute to go 7 inches. So you can see the robot is moving. If you look at these yellow numbers here, this is from my frame. So that little yellow box down in there is kind of showing me my user frame location. And then the numbers are showing you how it's changing in the X, Y, and Z directions from that user frame origin point. Okay, so you can see that it is actually moving, but it's moving very slow. Now notice that it's also moving. Teach pendant is on. I'm going to increase my speed and let it go a little bit faster here at least. So you can see that, yes, it is moving through this program. I don't even know how many inches it has to go, but it's going to take it a while to get there. All right, so but once it gets to point 1, it'll do a stop because it's a fine terminate, and then it'll start moving to point 2. Okay. All right, so but again, to edit this, I pressed F1 without pressing Shift, and then I could select one of the 4 instructions. And then out of those 4 instructions, if I didn't like any of those 4 instructions, I can hit Edit Definitions, and then I can come in here and edit one or all of those predefined settings and add my own that I prefer and paste in there. So that allows us, that's where those come from when you start doing shift point into your program. It's coming from one of those 4 defaults, which it's using the one that you last selected. So now I have a circular instruction. And I'll do a separate video on how we work with circular instruction. But that was my selected one. So now every time I go and do a shift point, it's pasting circular instructions because that was the one I selected in there by pressing F1. Now I need to be, there we go, F1, and then you select which one of these that you want. And then hit that in there, paste it in there, and then the next time it will repeat the last one that I just pasted. Okay, so if you press F1 with the shift pressed, it's just going to use your last pasted motion instruction to paste. If you press F1 without shift, it gives you the listing of the 4 choices, and you can choose whichever one of those 4 you want, or press Edit Def to modify. If you know that you want to use a bunch of linears with a speed of, say, so many millimeters per second, say, 400 millimeters per second with fine termination, then go ahead and make that one of your defaults. And then you can move the robot where you want it and just shift F1 to record that. All right, but anytime you need to change it, you simply press F1 without the shift, and then you can select one of the other ones that have what you want, or edit definitions by pressing F1 again and change it again.